Hi, this is Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. I'm also the host of Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight, and I'm the editor of the anthology, which you should run out and buy, called Moms Don't Have Time to, a quarantine anthology. All proceeds of that book go to COVID-19 vaccine research. And I'm the editor-in-chief of Moms Don't Have Time to Write, a new publication on Medium, and we're accepting submissions, so please send your personal essays there. And if all that isn't enough, you can follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens, and my website is zibbyowens.com. Okay, now back to this amazing podcast. I am obsessed with Slumberkins. They're these collections of stuffed animals and loveys that come with books. And they're so much more than that. Slumberkins were developed by a therapist and an educator using research-based techniques to help teach children how to understand and support their feelings. So these are almost emotional intelligence teaching animals. My kids are just obsessed. I mean, they fight over all of these things so much. And each one comes with a book. And in the book, you do things like recite your feelings and learn about different emotions. There's the caring crew of animals, the confidence crew. There's the resilience crew. It's really amazing. They have great gifts for newborn parents. And they're giving my listeners and followers Zibby 10% off your first purchase. The code is Zibby10. So go to slumberkins.com. Check it out. Your kids will love them, and you will love the fact that they help the kids fall asleep better. They create an activity that you can do with your kids, reading, reciting. They even have like digital books that you can do as activities with your kids. I am just such a huge fan of this brand and what it does for families and how it will help kids, and also the fun that it brings into the household. So go to Slumberkins, code Zibby10 will get you 10% off your first purchase. Enjoy! Happy Independent Bookstore Day, everybody. I hope that you'll all try to find a little bit of time to pop into your favorite independent bookstore or order online from one of them. I have so many favorites. My favorites in New York City are Bookstore Magic, the Center for Fiction Bookstore, Shakespeare & Co. I don't know. I love bookstores. I could just live in them. McNally Jackson, I love. Anyway, enjoy the day. I thought to celebrate, I would release this episode with Emma Straub, who is the owner of Bookstore Magic, and also, which is in Brooklyn, and also the well-known best-selling author, I should say, of 4 novels. Her most recent, which just came out in paperback, is called All Adults Here. And she's also written Modern Lovers, The Vacationers, and Laura Lamont's Life in Pictures, plus the short story collection Other People We Married. Her books have actually been published in 20 countries. So enjoy my episode with Emma. She talks a lot about what it's like owning a bookstore, picking the books, promoting the books, and all sorts of inside information that I found completely fascinating as someone who has been a longtime worshiper of bookstores. And I have secret ambitions to someday open a bookstore, but I don't know. There's only so much time. Anyway, enjoy this day, and let's all celebrate the importance of independent bookstores and the role they play in communities. Welcome, Emma. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the paperback of All Adults Here. I see you're going on some big tour for that as well. How does it feel?
Well, I mean, let's put going on in some major air quotes here. I am going here, right? In my house. But the big difference between the pretend tour for my hardcover and the pretend tour for my paperback is that I have, in the last year, done 2 important things in my house. Number 1, I put a door on my office. So now it closes and no one can come in.
Love it.
And also I organized my shelves behind me. I don't know why it took me 10 months of the pandemic to do this. Where I do zoomies all the time with just smart writer friends of mine who have their books displayed beautifully behind them. And I just was not on that level. And I finally did it.
You know what? You just have to acknowledge that you are obviously a slacker, and that is, you have to just own it, and that's just it. I mean, it takes a while to line up all the editions of all your books. I mean, it's tough. I'm proud of you. I have to say my books used to be a total mess, and that was until February. So that was 11 months of Zooms. So I'm even worse than you. And that was only inspired by having COVID, getting out of bed after 9 days, and suddenly needing to touch like every book I owned for God knows what sort of psychological weird reason, and then having them all on the floor and putting them back in the different order.
Well,
so
I'm glad.
There you go.
Glad you're all right.
Thanks. Yeah. So you never know what's going to inspire people to redo their bookshelves, right? But at least now I can see your beautiful book behind you. So there you go. Does it feel different talking about the book on paperback when everybody basically already knows what your book is about, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel weird. I mean, the whole thing is so weird. Like publishing a book. I don't know how it feels for you, but like to me, it feels sort of like a fever dream, like something that is happening like in some imaginary other place. And I own a bookstore, so like I
know,
like I am connected to like the physical reality of selling books more than most authors. And yet, even for me, it feels like this weird, fuzzy, like cloud world that is not at all real. And it still feels that way, even though yesterday, Tuesdays are my bookstore days right now. And I am in the bookstore all day having like back-to-back meetings and like, just bothering everyone to my heart's content. And even so, like, I mean, I opened like, a couple of cases of my book and signed them all. And even so, it feels just bizarre.
I think you are living like my dream come true by owning Bookstore Magic. No, I've always wanted to own a bookstore, which probably like every book loving person sort of does in their heart of hearts. But you actually got to do it. And I do want to discuss all adults here, but I'm also just so obsessed with Bookstore Magic and the fact that you started this amazing bookstore. What made you actually do it versus everybody else who thinks about doing it?
There are two answers to this. Number one is hormones.
Okay. Not what I thought you would say, but okay, let's go with that.
So, okay. So in my 20s, I worked at Bookcourt, which was our local bookstore here in Cobble Hill in Brooklyn for 35 years, family owned. I loved it. It was my place, And when I was very pregnant with our second child, my family moved closer to Bookcourt again. We were living elsewhere in Brooklyn. And I mean, it sounds crazy to say that we moved to be closer to that bookstore, but it's not true, And so then I had a baby and we were at Bookcourt with the baby and the toddler. And I was talking to this man who worked there, and he told me that they were closing and that the owners had sold the building. And I thought, well, so that we have to do it then. Like, it was in my head, it was either we could move again or we could open a bookstore. And I am really not joking that in my somewhat deranged state, thought it sounded easier and like less hassle to open a bookstore and run a small business, forever, rather than move one time. So that's one answer.
Your moving experiences must have been terrible. Well, I have to like send you a new mover or something. I'll give you a name of a really nice mover who will make your life easy.
I mean, the move, it was like, oh my God. I mean, I don't know how much time we have here, but like, I was,
probably not.
I was 7 months pregnant when we moved. And then, it was a complicated time. But so the other reason is that my husband and I had always sort of talked about it in the way that you just described, as sort of as this fantasy, I think, that a lot of book people have. And he was ready for a change. My husband, he had worked as a graphic designer for, his whole professional career, mostly in books. And yeah, we just decided to go for it. And it is wild. I mean, it is wild. There are things about it that we were really good at right from the start. And we had obviously so much like oomph going into it. And then there are so many things that we were terrible at that we have had to learn and improve and evolve and change. Like it's, the store will be 4 years old in a couple of weeks. And I just I cannot underestimate, or no, I can't overestimate the amount of stuff that we have learned in the last 4 years. Like it is, it makes me understand and appreciate why people go to business school, which is something that I would never have done in 1 million years, even if you paid me to do it.
I don't know. I went to business school and I don't think I took the right classes or something. Like I still would need just as much help. Going to business school is not the fail safe. So don't regret that decision too much.
But now I read business books. It's crazy. Like I was a poetry major,
some business books are really good. I mean, some business books read like fiction even.
Yeah. And I think that the one really absolutely unintended and unanticipated consequence of opening a bookstore is that my reading habits have changed. And one of the ways that they changed is that I do sometimes read business books, which I would never have believed.
It's okay. I won't tell anybody.
It's between us.
What else has changed about it? Because one of the things about Books Are Magic that I feel like makes it different from other bookstores is the curation of what you even sell. Like it's already you've taken the guesswork out of picking a good quality, literary-ish, awesome read, right? Which it's not necessarily the most mainstream, but it's going to be really well written, right? It's you've already passed a test if your book is sold there. I actually don't even know if my anthology is sold there, and now I don't even want to know.
It is.
It is? Okay. All right. Okay, good. Awesome. I'm going to have to come in now that the world is starting again. I would love to. I haven't been since pre-pandemic. But anyway, so the curation, has that affected your own reading? How does it work?
So I, at the beginning, I did all the buying. And now I do all the adult buying. We have a children's book buyer who is amazing and who does the kids' books. But now I do, I don't know, maybe 75% of the buying. And it's great. It's great. It's so much fun. It's so much fun because it's just like online shopping, only you're doing it for thousands of people. And so it doesn't have to be just my own taste, and it's really fun. I mean, the people who shop in our store and the people who work in our store are so smart. They are so much smarter than I am. And it is such a pleasure to pick books that I know they're going to like. It's, if I was picking books that were just for me, it would be really boring, but I'm not, I'm picking books for everybody, and it is really just a joy. But to answer your question, so in terms of what I read and how my reading habits have changed, it's now I read almost everything I read is a galley, of something that comes out in 3 months or 6 months. And my memory is a pathetic sieve. And so I never remember anything. And so when someone asks me, like in the old days on the book tour, when you would be traveling around and people would be like, what are you reading? I would just my mind would be a black hole, a deep, large black hole. But now it's sort of even worse because I I can't remember. And it's all stuff that doesn't come out for months and months and months. So it's like totally useless information almost always. But, it's what's fun is that I get, like right now I'm reading the new Colson Whitehead that comes out in the fall. And there are things like that, like things that just fall into my lap and I'm like, oh, it's like Christmas. It's like a book that you would be delighted to read anytime. And then it just shows up and it's got your name on it. And it's really delightful.
Wow. Well, I bet it wouldn't be boring if the store was filled with what you like, but it's great that you're shopping for everybody too. That's awesome. So neat. I just feel like so many authors want to know like how to stand out at a bookstore, right? There's even in a bookstore like yours, it's so hard, right? Like any bookstore you go into, sometimes there's just one book pushed in the shelf with so many other books. And like, can you have it on the table? And where is it? And what's going to make somebody pull it out? And like, those are, I've like never wanted, I always thought like my worst job ever that I could ever get would be to be like a maitre d' at a restaurant, because like, how would you be able to like handle the timing and the people and where would you put everybody and like all those logistics? But I feel like the responsibility of even placing a book in a bookstore has such ramifications, or like an admissions officer in college. I could never do that either. Yeah. Like, what am I doing to these people's lives? And things like that.
It's not quite, Harvard admissions where you're changing somebody's life. But it is true that if I buy one copy of something, it goes on the shelf and someone has to come in looking for it or looking in that section, right? But if I buy 6 of something or 12 of something, the booksellers really have no choice but to put it on the table because that's where it's going to fit. And if you put something on the table, people will buy it. It's not like, magic. Like if we put like, I don't know, like there are books that would not sell in my bookstore for sure. Like if we put some, conservative white man smoking a cigar, like one of those books, no one would touch it with the 10-foot pole. But if there's some book that is amazing that I know our customers are going to love, and we put that on the table, it sells, which you do feel a little bit drunk with power in a very, very good way.
Wow. Well, you must get people must try to like bribe you. I can't even imagine some of the stuff. No. Really? No. I feel like people would like be like, no, oh, okay. Good, great.
The publishers, I think that there are ways in which the publishers sort of rewards you or like gives you like credits basically based on like if you buy a certain number of books sometimes, where it's like, buy 5 and you get 1 free, that kind of thing. Like, but it's nothing very exciting and there's nothing gross about it. Like there's nothing, I have never had an author come in and try to like, slip me $100 to put there.
Well, I didn't mean cash or anything.
I know that.
And I didn't even mean the authors. I was thinking more of the publishers, but not that they would slip you cash. Never mind. Forget the question.
You know what? Though? It is 100% true that if an author comes in to our store and is terrific, I won't name names, but I will. Maybe I should, if I'm just saying nice things. I don't know. But I won't name names. But like there's one author who came into the store. She was a debut. She came into the store on her book tour a couple of years ago. And she brought like a giant package of Korean face masks for everybody. And we were all like, will you marry us? Like, she was just like, it wasn't like gross. It was just like for the booksellers. Sometimes people bake. Sometimes people send us cookies. And I am all for that kind of bribery, like bribery that directly makes my booksellers happy. I am 1,000% for 1,000%. And on the flip side, and those are also the people who send thank you notes. People who send thank you notes, I order more of their books. If people come in and are jerks, I'm not going to order as many copies of their next book. I'm not. Like, it really is like, it's up to me. It is up to me. It is not, there is no like corporate overlord who is telling me that I need to support this author who is an asshole. Can I say asshole? Sorry.
Yeah, you can say.
There's no corporate overlord who is in charge, who I have to sort of run things by. And so if I think somebody is not cool in some way, I don't mean not cool as it like an uncool.
I get it. Yeah.
Then they don't get a stack. No way.
That is very interesting. I love getting thank you notes. I get a lot of handwritten thank you notes just when I have somebody on my podcast. I'm like, that is so nice.
Yeah.
It's just so nice. It like always makes my day. Not to like try to solicit more thank you.
No, you should. You should. I mean, listen.
But it's like a lost art, and it always like getting mail. It's like when you're a kid, right? It just like always makes your day, like at camp or something. And like you'd get a package, right? It's the same. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Well, sorry, I really wanted to talk to you about the bookstore. So I've just used this podcast for myself, essentially. But I'm assuming if I'm interested, other people are interested because, selling books is like, I don't know. Especially today, it's like with everything being closed for the last year, and oh my gosh. Anyway, it's like a miracle that books can still sell. And anyway, are you doing anything special? Last question about the bookstore for Independent Bookstore Day, because I think I'm going to release this on Independent Bookstore Day. I've just decided.
Yeah, we've got some stuff to give away. We are, it's a weird year because we don't, I mean, it sounds so backwards, but we don't really want to encourage more people than usual to come. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, we don't want there to be more people in the store than would normally be in the store. On the weekends, there's always a line out the door anyway, where people wait to come in, which is nice. But we have some new merch that we are going to put on sale and some fun stuff like that. But yeah, just stay tuned to Bookstore Magic BK on Instagram.
I use my Bookstore Magic mug all the time, by the way. I posted a picture a long time ago, but I should post another one soon. But, not that you need it, but just FYI, I love it.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so your book for our last 2 minutes, All Adults Here. Well, so beautifully written. I feel like I know this family. Like I could like run into them. This whole bus accident, the secrets, the train ride up, that like even the way you talk about driving in a taxi, like in the backseat and having to get there and be accompanied and her feeling like crazy. I feel like I used to always do these like unaccompanied trips where my parents were always just like sending my brother and me places and we were like, oh my gosh. So it like made me think back to that. Just tell listeners a little bit more about the book and like why did you write the book? What made you write All Adults Here?
Sure. Well, I think that I would say a common misconception is that writers are sort of like experts about things and write books because they want to tell people stuff, right? I feel like I write things in order to understand them. And this book is very much about understanding how to be a parent and how to be a sibling and how to be an adult child of an aging person, and just how to navigate life when you are making mistakes, which we all do all the time. I think as a person in this sort of like sandwich generation, I think about it all the time, where like my parents are getting older, I have small children, and so I feel pulled in both directions. And like when my parents live like about a 5-minute walk that direction. And
so do mine.
and like when you walk into my parents don't live in the house that I grew up in, but even so, like when I walk into my parents' apartment, I like kick my shoes off wherever. I like take off my clothes, like I drop things everywhere. I just open the fridge. Like I treat it like it's my space and like I'm a teenager. And and I think they do, because my mom still acts the way she did when I was a child, where like I'll be like sitting somewhere and all of a sudden there will be like a little bowl of clementines right next to me or something, like she's still mothering me because I'm still her child, even though I'm 40 years old and I have my own 2 children. So that's really what the book is about. I guess, to answer your question.
Love it. Well, those are like the most relatable things in the world, right? I feel like everybody is dealing with all of that stuff. Even the way you write about parenting in the book, like I'm forgetting his name, but the brother who goes to the diner just to escape his crazy twins and just like hide out there. And I'm like, oh, if only like moms could sneak out to a diner in the morning and just be like, not to generalize, there are many men who are never mind, but if only I could do that. Yeah. Sure. There's some mornings when everybody would love to just hang out at the local diner and, read the paper and all of that. What are you working on next? What's coming next from you, book-wise?
On a novel. I just got notes back on my first draft of my next novel from my editor. And so I'm trying to synthesize them. I think we're going to talk tomorrow or later this week about them. But yeah, I don't know when it'll be out, but it's...
You're going to order 12 copies of them. It's going on the table.
Oh man, it's going on the table. It is going on the table for sure.
Can you say anything about it? Like a little sneak peek of any kind?
It's a time travel book. It's a time travel book.
Okay. All right.
It's New York City. It's the Upper West Side. It's high school and time travel and death and love.
Oh, love it. Yeah. What more can you want? That's perfect. And I throw in a little Zabars and you've got the whole thing covered. Excellent. Do you have any advice for aspiring authors?
Finish it. If you don't finish it, whatever it is that you're trying to write, if you're trying to write an essay, if you're trying to write a memoir, if you're trying to write a short story, if you're trying to write a novel, if you're trying to write a screenplay, if you don't finish it, then you can never make it good. I know a lot of aspiring writers who are perfectionists. Perfection is the enemy. Don't worry about that. Just finish it and then make it good.
Okay. Great. Finish it. We will. Well, thank you. By the way, if you have any interest, I have this new site on Medium called Moms Don't Have Time to Write. If you have any interest in writing anything for Independent Bookstore Day, we could publish it that day. I thought that might be fun. Actually, it wasn't even my idea. But anyway, if you have any interest, would love for you to do that.
My phone started ringing. It's my next, I have another interview that's right this moment.
Okay, sorry. We'll talk. I'm going to email you about this last piece.
Email me.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure, Zibby. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. Bye.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you, Slumberkins, for sponsoring today's episode. Again, use code Zibby10 to get 10% off your first purchase. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.